The last time Amanda Agana counted, there were more than 100 marks dotting her legs, arms, hands and back. When people used to ask her where the scars were from, she would reply with a shrug, "Oh, well, I grew up in Africa. I fell off a lot of trees." Half of that statement is true. Agana, a middle-distance runner for Navy's track team, was born in northern Ghana, where she lived in a village called Zaare. But the scars weren't from tree climbing. Agana had suffered years of abuse. "That's a hard thing to explain," she says. Amanda Agana works out with her team at the United States Naval Academy. Photo by Jonathan Newton, The Washington Post. What am I supposed to tell these American kids that had never known true pain in their lives? Oh, I'm sorry, I lived 3 years of my life being beaten every day and being taken advantage of every day, Agana, 21, says. Agana's fingertips were smashed with rocks. Her knuckles cracked with rulers. Her arms and back whipped with sticks. Her skin singed with the smoldering end of a stick. But most of the abuse was saved for her legs. "My legs, isn't that funny?" she says without laughing. "The place that endured the most pain is the place that's helped me get to where I am." By the time Agana was 7, her parents had separated. Her mother, Bertha, had been sick for many years. She knew her mother wasn't doing well, pneumonia that the family believes was linked to tuberculosis, but still thought little of it when she bounded home from school one day and climbed onto her mother's bed, bragging about her score on a French test. Everyone else in the room remained quiet. Agana thinks maybe 30 minutes passed. "Finally, my grandmother came and took me away, and I didn't understand why," Agana says. "But later that day I found out that she had already been deceased for a few hours. Nobody knew how to tell me." Her mother, she says, was her best friend. At the time, Agana says, she wasn't particularly close to her father. In their culture, the father is the provider, and John Agana had many to provide for. His brother had died when Amanda was young, and he had inherited his children. Their family grew to 20. "I wasn't always around all the time. I had to work," John says. "I had a lot of responsibilities on my shoulders." He traveled for work, collecting and selling hand-woven baskets, trinkets and wares from the region. When one of his sisters came forward and offered to take Amanda, he asked his daughter if she wanted to live with her auntie. Amanda, who saw little of her father and was grieving the loss of her mother, said yes. At 8 years old, she moved to a village a couple hours away to live with her aunt. Amanda Agana is a junior at Navy. She was born in Ghana. Her mother died of pneumonia related to tuberculosis at a young age and she was sent off to live with an aunt who abused her. Photo by Jonathan Newton, The Washington Post. John didn't know his sister that well, but he had hoped she could be a maternal figure for Amanda. The woman resembled her mother. At first, Amanda was happy to be in a family environment. She helped with cooking and cleaning and thought nothing of her chore list. But as the weeks passed, her aunt awoke earlier each morning, 6:30, then 5:30 and then 4:30. The work demands grew, and she was tasked with sweeping, cooking, cleaning, dishes, laundry, preparing meals, getting children off to school, opening up the family's shop. Soon she was missing school entirely to stay back and work around the family's home and shop. "I wanted a mom, but she didn't want a daughter," Agana says today. "She was looking for his servant, and that's how she treated me." Agana says she was regularly punished if tasks weren't completed fast enough or to her aunt's satisfaction. She developed sores on her head from carrying a water basin from the well, and on weekends she was told to pluck branches off trees and soak them in water. They would be used for lashings throughout the week. "She kept telling me that it's what I deserved because I had killed my mom." She said, "This is how you repent in the eyes of God, by serving other people." Agana recalls, "So I thought it was fair, like I deserved to suffer because I took that light away from people." Agana had to remind herself constantly that she wanted to live, setting small benchmarks. "If I can just make it to breakfast and then if I can just make it to lunch." For 3 years, Agana says, she lived in misery. She rarely attended school, and she had scabs and sores on her head and legs. She occasionally saw her father, but she didn't tell him what was happening. "I didn't want him to worry," Agana says. "He had 20-some kids to take care of. I felt like they needed him. I didn't. All I needed was my mom. And she was gone." One day, John brought a blue-eyed, pineapple-color-haired white woman to visit Amanda. Carol Meadows was a nurse practitioner and an instructor at the University of Arkansas. She had bought some African goods from John online, and the two struck up a friendship. Soon Carol found herself in a small African village, eager to meet John's daughter. Amanda Agana left, and her cousin Gifty are shown in 2007, shortly after meeting Carol Agana for the first time in Ghana. Courtesy of Carol Agana, Amanda resisted Carol at first. She didn't trust her, and the language barrier certainly didn't help. Still, Carol was struck by something in the young girl. She recalls one day, preparing a meal inside the kitchen. She gave Amanda some money to buy tomatoes, and the girl took off running out the door barefoot. I looked out the window, and it was the most amazing thing. I got chills all over, Carol says. I went to the door and followed her as long as I could. She was like a gazelle, a ballerina on the run. There were signs, too, that something was amiss, scabs and scars and clothing that had been sent as gifts that Amanda no longer had. I remember they brought me beautiful white shirts and white dresses. Agana recalls, my aunt said I was too dirty to wear them. She gave the shirts to her sons and sold the dresses. In April 2008, John and Carol Agana came to the village Amanda was staying in to take her away. John was relocating to Fayetteville, Arkansas, with his new bride and wanted his daughter to go with him. Amanda was eager to get away but knew nothing about her new home. She was quiet and still filled with anger. The other kids looked and acted differently. She loved having her own bed, electricity, running water. But adapting was still a process. It took her a long time to trust me. Carol says, she thought I was going to abuse her, too. I guess John and Carol remained patient. They started functioning like a family, and Amanda slowly accepted her father wasn't leaving and her new mother loved her. It is different here, her father says. I have time, I'm always home. We're able to bond more. Amanda saw a therapist, and in time she shared with her parents what those 3+ years had been like and how they had hardened her. I really think that emotionally she suffered more than physically. Carol says today, when Agana was in 7th grade, she joined her school's cross-country team. Gave her a sense of accomplishment, even though exercise felt a bit foreign. It was weird because when I was running away from my aunt, I had a goal. I was trying to get away. When we were training, it was like, why are we running in circles, she says. Amanda Agana takes the lead in a sprint with fellow teammates, L.R. Brittany Burge, Kat Goss, and Savannah Robinson during workouts at the United States Naval Academy. Photo by Jonathan Newton, The Washington Post. But she started winning some races, and her parents began seeing a future. Running brought a certain freedom. She could channel her feeling and assert herself in a way that wasn't always easy when standing still. Watching her grow as a runner was fun, says Michelle Fife, her former cross-country coach in Fayetteville. I could challenge her with pretty much anything, and she could rise to it. She's not scared of anything. Now at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, MD, Agana continues to run and receive counseling. On the track, she competes in sprints and middle distances. She is a jovial presence at practices, high energy with a big personality. People kind of flock to her, especially kids. She has a smile that draws people in, said Jamie Cook, Navy's director of track and field. She has a natural charisma about her. You can tell she's going to be a really good leader. Someday, Agana wants to return to Ghana, where hopes to build a school for young girls, to give them a bus they can ride each day and to help them have a better childhood than she did. She wants them to have hope. There are no tears when she shares her personal story. She draws strength from it.